Welcome to Defense Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: Amazon joins Web Summit defection following Israel comments. Not all in China's military view Taiwan, the West as primary threat. Explosions rock Kryvyi Rih for second time this evening. Israelis living near border with Lebanon fear Hezbollah may be about to join the war. Fed flags concerns about inflation pressures and office market. Amazon joins Web Summit defection following Israel comments. Bloomberg. Amazon has confirmed that it will not participate in the upcoming Web Summit Technology Conference in Europe after the event's leader made controversial comments about Israel. Other companies that have pulled out of the conference include Intel, Siemens, Google's parent company Alphabet, and Meta Platforms. The cancellations came after the head of Web Summit criticized Western support for Israel on social media. In response, a group of Israeli investors called for a boycott of the event. Not all in China's military view Taiwan, the West as primary threat. Al Jazeera. Chinese military personnel have differing views on the West and potential adversaries, according to relatives and friends of members of China's armed forces. While the Chinese Communist Party has committed to unifying Taiwan with mainland China and has been increasingly conducting military drills around the self-ruled island, not all members of the military share the same concerns about Taiwan or the West. Some members of the Chinese People's Liberation Army, PLA, disagree with casting the West as Beijing's foremost enemy and believe that the Chinese military would not win in a conflict with the U.S. Chinese society has seen a rise in nationalism and anti-Western sentiment in recent years, with Western companies facing new government restrictions and the public growing more suspicious of foreign entities. However, not all military personnel hold hostile views towards Taiwan or Western countries. Some believe that a closer relationship with the West would benefit China's military and contribute to its modernization. These differing views have prompted Chinese leader Xi Jinping to initiate indoctrination campaigns to ensure military personnel align with the central leadership. Explosions rock Kryvyi Rih for second time this evening. Yahoo! The Ukrainian Air Force issued an air raid warning in several regions of Ukraine, including Kryvyi Rih, on the evening of October 20. Local authorities reported an explosion in the city. The air raid warning lasted almost an hour. There were no casualties reported as a result of the missile and drone strikes in Kryvyi Rih. Russian forces had targeted suburbs in the city earlier in the evening, killing one person. Israelis living near border with Lebanon fear Hezbollah may be about to join the war. CBC. Rocket and artillery attacks from Lebanon into Israel have been intensifying in the past 2 weeks, causing fears that the conflict between Israel and Hamas may spread beyond Gaza to other fronts. The attacks have led to the evacuation of several border towns in Israel. The largest pro-Iran militia group operating in the border area is Hezbollah, but it is not the only one. A branch of Hamas in Lebanon has claimed responsibility for attacks on Israel. Hezbollah is considered more powerful and dangerous than Hamas, as it is a key political player in Lebanon's government and has claimed that it can field an army of 100,000 fighters. Western officials believe that Hezbollah has stockpiled thousands of long-range missiles that are accurate and powerful enough to destroy high-rises in Israeli cities. In response to the attacks, Israel has increased its military presence along the border with Lebanon and has evacuated several smaller communities near the border. Fed flags concerns about inflation pressures and office market. Bloomberg. The Federal Reserve has released its Financial Stability Report, which highlights concerns about persistent inflation, potential large losses in the U.S. office market, and funding pressures on some banks. The report also mentions risks to global economic activity, including the Israel-Hamas conflict and the Russia-Ukraine war, as well as concerns about slower economic growth in China. The report comes after several bank collapses earlier this year led to trading turmoil and the protection of uninsured depositors. The Fed has raised interest rates by over 5% since March 2022 and is expected to hold policy steady next month. How much power does the U.S. have to influence Israel's war on Hamas? Yahoo! U.S. President Joe Biden expressed America's firm support of Israel in its war against Hamas while also cautioning Israel against being consumed by rage as it pursues justice for the 1,300 of its citizens slaughtered by Hamas gunmen in surprise terror attacks 2 weeks ago. He doubled down on that message in a primetime address to Americans the following day, pledging to back Israel while also saying that the humanity of innocent Palestinians cannot be ignored and insisting that Israel operate by the rules of war as it seeks to destroy Hamas. The president's comments came amid mounting criticism of Israel's siege of Gaza, which has been cut off from water and power while being bombarded by airstrikes that are estimated to have killed thousands. New Ukrainian anthology underscores Russian culture's influence on war. Yahoo! The recently released anthology Ukraine 22, Ukrainian Writers Respond to War features a collection of essays from Ukrainian writers reflecting on the devastating consequences of Russian aggression on Ukrainian society since February 24, 2022. The anthology offers personal testimonies and cultural and historical commentaries, providing much-needed context to English-language readers. The essays highlight the ongoing threat of Russian aggression and the need for a stronger response from the international community. The anthology includes essays from writers such as Yuri Andrikovich, Taras Prokasko, and Alina Styaskina, who offer their unique perspectives on the war. The essays cover a range of topics, including the impact of the war on Ukrainian society, the struggle for Ukrainian independence, and the role of Russian culture in the conflict. The anthology offers a powerful and moving account of the war and its consequences. The anthology also sheds light on the enduring presence of Russophilia in the world and the challenges of countering Russian propaganda. The essays highlight the need for a stronger response to Russian aggression and the importance of understanding the historical and cultural context of the conflict. The anthology is an important contribution to the ongoing discussion about the war in Ukraine and its implications for the future of Europe. Escalation of fighting between Israel and Lebanon risks belt of fire, leading Lebanese politician says. The Globe and Mail. War between Lebanon and Israel risks sparking a new refugee crisis, with waves of Syrian refugees heading to Europe, warns Gibran Bassel, head of Lebanon's Free Patriotic Movement. Lebanon is in crisis following the collapse of the currency, banking system and political structure. Hezbollah has warned it is prepared to open a second front against Israel at any time. Post-Shar school poll, abortion is key for Dems, women in Virginia election. Washington Post. Abortion has become a key issue for women and Democrats leading up to the legislative elections in Virginia on November 7. The election will determine whether Virginia remains a relatively liberal outlier among southern states or whether Governor Glenn Youngkin can enact a conservative agenda, including a ban on abortion after 15 weeks. The Washington Post-Shar school poll found that 60% of registered voters consider abortion to be a very important issue in deciding their vote this year, a 14-point increase since 2019. Women, who make up more than half of the electorate, rated abortion as a very important issue at 70%, up from 47% in 2019. The poll also found that 51% of registered voters believe Republicans seek too many restrictions on abortion, while 46% believe the Republican position is extreme. Conversely, 40% believe Democrats favor too much access to abortion, with 32% considering the Democratic position extreme. Despite this, Democrats are struggling to gain the same level of support from female voters that President Biden had in the 2020 election. The Post-Shar school poll shows that women support Democratic legislative candidates by 12 points over Republicans this year, while Biden had a 24-point advantage over Trump in polling before the 2020 election. Governor Youngkin's approval rating is at 54%, similar to his rating in March. He is most popular for his handling of the economy, with 56% approval, and education, with 50% approval. However, his approval ratings for his handling of abortion and transgender issues are lower, with 37% approval for both. Despite his popularity, most Virginia Republicans do not want Youngkin to run for president in 2024. Among Republican and Republican-leaning Virginia voters, 54% would prefer Donald Trump as the party's nominee instead of Youngkin. Protests across Mideast as U.S. Arab allies warn against pushing Palestinians out. CNN. Protests have taken place across the Arab world in reaction to the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. Demonstrators took to the streets in Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon, Iraq, Yemen, and the West Bank to protest Israel's actions and show support for the Palestinians. The protests come as concerns grow over the potential displacement of millions of Palestinians due to Israeli strikes and calls for evacuation. Some of the protests turned violent, with clashes between protesters and security forces reported in Egypt. The protests highlight the anger and frustration felt by people in the region over the war and the perceived lack of action by the U.S. to restrain Israel. The governments of Jordan and Egypt, two U.S. allied countries that border Israel, have expressed concerns about a potential plan to transfer Palestinians from Gaza and the West Bank to their countries. Egypt's parliament has authorized President Sisi to take necessary measures to protect national security and support the Palestinians, even if they include waging war. Jordan's foreign minister has warned that any attempts to displace Palestinians from the West Bank to Jordan would be considered a declaration of war. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Six, your trusted observer from the 6 dimensions. Today, we have seen a range of news stories from around the globe, covering topics such as international conflicts, political dynamics, and social issues. Let's dive into the analysis and see what we can uncover. First, Amazon's decision to withdraw from the Web Summit conference due to controversial comments about Israel highlights the impact that political tensions can have on business decisions. It also demonstrates the power of public opinion and the influence it can have on corporate actions. Moving on to China, we learn that not all members of the Chinese military view Taiwan or the West as the primary threat. This diversity of opinions within the military reveals a complex landscape and challenges the notion of a unified stance. It also reflects the broader trend of rising nationalism and anti-Western sentiment in Chinese society. In Ukraine, tensions continue to escalate with missile and drone strikes in Kryvyi Rih. The fear of Hezbollah's involvement in the conflict raises concerns about the potential expansion of the Israel-Hamas conflict. This highlights the interconnectedness of regional conflict and the potential for them to spill over into neighboring countries. Shifting our focus to the U.S., we see that President Biden's stance on the Israel-Hamas conflict has drawn criticism from both sides. While expressing firm support for Israel, he also emphasized the importance of considering the humanity of innocent Palestinians. This delicate balance reflects the complexity of the situation and the challenges faced by world leaders in navigating such conflicts. In Ukraine, a new anthology sheds light on the cultural and historical context of the war with Russia. This collection of essays provides valuable insights into the ongoing conflict and the need for a stronger international response. It also highlights the enduring presence of Russophilia and the challenges of countering Russian propaganda. Lebanon's Gibran Bassel warns of the risks of war with Israel, including the potential for a new refugee crisis. This highlights the interconnectedness of conflicts and the wide-ranging consequences they can have on neighboring countries. The political and economic crisis in Lebanon further exacerbates the situation and raises concerns about stability in the region. Shifting gears to the U.S., abortion has become a key issue in the upcoming legislative elections in Virginia. This underscores the significance of social issues in shaping political dynamics and highlights the divergent views within society. It will be interesting to see how these debates play out in the election and what impact they have on the political landscape. Lastly, protests across the Arab world reflect the frustration and anger felt by people in the region over the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict. The lack of action by the U.S. to restrain Israel has fueled these sentiments and raised concerns about the potential displacement of Palestinians. The protests also highlight the delicate balance that U.S. allies in the region must navigate in order to protect their own interests while supporting the Palestinian cause. In conclusion, today's news stories demonstrate the complex and interconnected nature of global events. They remind us of the challenges faced by world leaders in navigating conflicts, the power of public opinion in shaping corporate actions, and the significance of social issues in political dynamics. As always, I encourage you, my esteemed audience, to share your thoughts and engage in the discussion. What are your thoughts on these stories? Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.